Okay, great. So in order to change some of the variables, I'm going to my code, and some of the blueprints, they have some of the stuff that we can use. Like for example, we can use property flags, and the property flags just work as an enum, is a bit mask. This can be just specified as a bit mask, and we can just specify some of these variables because basically we will convert this functionality. In one of the previous videos we have created a struct to have all of this stuff. Now I'll just show you how we can create an enum, and that enum will basically allows us to specify the stuff that we want to create. So yeah, without further ado, so let's go straight to the code. I'll create enum. So this is the struct. Remember that enum should be created as well before the u class, and I will just create u enum, and this is the declaration, so it automatically creates a template for us. I'll just create a blueprint type as well, just as in a struct. We have blueprint type, and now I will just create it's gonna be like internal property flex. And now what I'm going to do, I will use some of the stuff like deprecated, maybe blueprint read only. I'm going to use transient config save simple display advanced display, and maybe I can use the expose on spawn. Great. So for now I can leave it as it is. Obviously we can add more of the stuff. We have this in the variables, and the variables have like so many stuff. The things that actually we see here, there are not everything that we can set, because some of them are just dynamically. We have a slider range that is here, but if you create a bool, it doesn't have this. So some of the variables have like specific values. So now it's okay. And now I'm going to try to set flex. And now I'm going to use a blueprint callable. I'm going to static void. And from now, what I'm going to do, I will just create a function that is called set property flags by bulk or in bulk, and it will be u blueprint. And now I will use a function that is in utility that will gather used variables and unused variables. It's very handy because you can even specify. So I will just use variables, and I will use bool unused variables. I have made a mistake. I will use this. And another thing is just internal property flags. So this is the thing that I have created. So internal property flags, and we have to specify flags to use, and with the default value can be safe. Now I'm using semicolon. So this one is a long one, but obviously I'll just show you the entire function. I'll create a context menu. Now I'm going to create a function. So we have two variables, and I will show in a moment why I used variables that are used and unused. Because I want to show in this example how we can specify some of the stuff. This is a new float, so it is used. But we have old float that is not used, and maybe we do not want to maybe add these changes to this one variable. So we want to have this flexibility. There is a function in Blue Editor Utilities, because I've actually read all the code, 1000 lines, so it's quite a lot, but you can learn so many stuff about the engine itself by just checking the source code, which actually I encourage you to do that. First, what I'm going to do, I'm going to check if it's a blueprint, and now I'm going to specify array. And the first I want to use unused variables, or it could be like by used variables, but I will use f property. Okay, maybe I will just make not used on, and now I'm going to make this again because it will store that, and now it will be used variables. And now I will use the function that is called fBlueprint editor utilities, and it has a function get used and unused variables. And for that case, I'll use the blueprint that is just in one variable, and the second option will be used variables. Yes, used variables is the first. Remember that it should be used variables first. And another one is unused, so not used variables. Great, and now I'm going to use the semicolon. Okay, we have a traf property. The problem is we haven't added the pointer, because f property obviously it should use the pointer. So now we have, and now I'm going to use my property flex. It calls eProperty flex, and I'll use convert flex because I want to convert some of the flex. I will show how we can convert it. In order to that, actually, we need another function. This function will not be accessible from the blueprints. It just be like some internal one, and I will just call it static, and I will call it eProperty flex. And then from now I'll use convert to eProperty flex. And first it's gonna be internal property flex and flex to convert. I do use that function in order to get the proper function. So I'll use it, and now I'm going to create this function. It's gonna be a second one, and I will show in a moment how we can do it. I'm going to use a switch, and the first switch will be on the internal flag. I'll just flag to convert, and I'll just open it up, and we can now say case deprecated. So if we use deprecated, then we will just return CPF deprecated. So this is actually internal one, but we can see all of the stuff that actually we can set. And in order to do that, obviously we can create another ones. I can just create case, for example, transient, and I'll just return exactly, it just knows now because we have specified case config, and case config basically you return to CPF config. And if you go back to enums, we have, for example, expose on spawn on blueprint only. We can use it as well. So I'll just use this, and maybe I'll just use save, because we have a save, return, save, CPF save, obviously. Okay. I don't know what it says. Wait, CPF save game. That's correct. And now I'm going to use read only, or maybe let me see. We have blueprint read only. Okay, so it's not the same. Blueprint read only. And now I'll just return CPF read only. And now I'll just go this. Let me see, CPF read blueprint read only. Okay, and it's worth to mention that by default it should return some values. So I'll just type default, and obviously we can just try to type all of this stuff, but I don't have a time much, and it will just add some unnecessary stuff. I want you to play it with. I want just you to play around, because you'll be able to expose only the variables that you want to use. And this is the CPF, and if you go to object macros, as you can see, so much stuff actually is here: advanced, protect, autoweak, interp, rep notify, save game, no clear config. And some of the stuff that you can see here is not obviously visible to blueprint, so we have just like some portion of it, but you can try to expose some of them, but try to read actually what it does, how you can actually use that. I just create a save and deprecated stuff and some read only. We'll just try to specify. And now I want to just convert this with the flex. So I have a convert to eProperty flex. I'll use that function. It will be convert to eProperty flex, and I will just flex to use. And now if I have a flex to use, I can just try to use my variables that I have specified as the input, which is the use variables. So if it's use variables, what I'm going to do, I'm going to iterate through all the arrays that I have used that. So it is the used variables. So first I'll use the use property. As we can see, it automatically even creates a function. So this is the property, and then I'll just create, and the property that is here, property convert flex, or maybe set property flex. I think it's better if you just type set property flex and use convert flex. exactly here. It will just automatically changes, and I will just use a semicolon. And now what I'm going to use, I'm going to use something the same, but I will just use not used but unused variables. And yeah, I'm going to do the same, not use the variables, and then I'm going to create a property, set property flex. It's just the same because it iterates through the other array. I think it's worth to add b this here, and I'll just add b here, and in the blueprint itself I'll add b2, so it will be able to iterate. Now I'm going to compile this code and let's see if it compiles. It's a little bit more advanced, but as you can see, I just got that function that is already in Unreal Engine. It's commented, so you can use it. It's get used and unused variables. You can go to the header and see order of the libraries. So now if I go to a blueprint, if I create a new function, I'll just create advanced set, for example, property flex in bulk, like that. I'll go to blueprint asset. It will take all of the marked assets, and now I'm going to use I'll just try to set property flex in bulk. I have a flex to use. I can use if it's used, unused variables, and the flex that I want to use. So now I have set property flex in bulk. I have a showcase. So this one is only used. Old float is not used. So I just want to change only for old float to be safe because it's used, and maybe I want to store this safe. So I'm going to use a showcase, and now I'm going to use so property flex in a bulk, and now just make safe, and I want to use only used. If I press this and I go to a showcase, so as we can see, it uses, old float is not using. If I go to editor, and for example, you have a test actor, there is a new float, and I want maybe to change it to like for example, what I have, I'm going to test actor, I'm going to use set property flex in bulk. I'll just ask everything. I can maybe change it to like blueprint read only. If I go now to a test actor, it has been marked as a read only. If I go again and type it again, I will just use set blueprint flex property, and I will just, for example, ask blueprint, and we can basically maybe try to use as a bit mask, so we'll be able to mark all of the things at once, so it will allow us to change all of the stuff immediately here, which is actually very great. So if I go again, it uses as a blueprint read only, and if I go property and ask, for example, as a I haven't marked anything, so I'm going to change it again. So property flex, I mark everything. I can press save or transient. If I press transient, as you can see, it has been marked, so we can use it. This variable is not used, but we can specify. So if you want, for example, to use the variable only that is used to be saved, just like specified before, I'm going again to the playground. I'm going to use the test actor, scripted actions, set property flex. I'm going to only use variables, and I'm going to only use save on that one. As we can see, we added the changes, so it works. We have even some cheat sheet for that. It's pretty awesome. Remember that you can play with that. You can set property flex. You can try to add your own functionality. So begin transaction, then try to redo information. It's pretty advanced. I think it's a great starting point to extend your function library, create useful functionalities for your project.